Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, y'all. We are back. Thank y'all to everybody that has been rocking with us tonight. We appreciate the ladies of the makeover that were here with us tonight. We appreciate them. We had our sister Deshawn, our sister Tiffany, our sister Jessica, our sister Lestar, and our sister Shantae, who were all in the building, and they joined us to tell us about the event that they have that's going to be coming up on the 7th of May at the church at 2114 Dabney Road right here in the capital city. So we'll, of course, say another word about that as we close out the show later on. But I want to thank them for being here. But we're going to move on. We are walking into the Champipple room, which is hosted, of course, by my brother and yours, Mr. 3375. And so he's got me working hard to queue up everything that he's got going on for the Champipple room. And so I'm going to get it ready for you. But if you want to get it nice and set up, once you're ready for me to run it, I will run it, my brother.
All right, we walking in the Champipple room today. I'm gonna get away from relationships a little bit again, and I'm gonna run some videos like I did the last time, and we'll get everybody on a panel opinion about it. Run that one.
All right, here we go.
Thing about kids that they won't talk about, kids don't really want to sell dope, but at the end of the dope, with dope, you see what happens. I can get the girls, I can get the money. I see my cousin with the college, but that's not promise. He back on the block too. So it's like people lie all the time telling these kids not to sell drugs, but you don't give them nothing else. You tell these kids not to sell drugs, but you don't give them nowhere to play. You closing up the boys clubs and all the YMCAs. Ain't no more bands in school. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, I try to show kids knowledge is money. The reason why I'm able to hold these people captive is because I know something. That's what I'm trying to show these children. Like, money is in what you know. Talking about what other people should do. Show me. Like, everybody always tell me what I should do. It's so funny, I always laugh at people. People be like, what you done done for the hood, David Banner? And I be like, dog, you sell crack. Why does it matter what I do? Like, why does it matter to you? You show, dog, you don't never do nothing. Well, what are you doing? Well, I gave turkeys. But you just killed 17 families and you gave a turkey, that's it? You be the example. You feel me? Everybody always talking about what I should do. Show me what you've done. Maybe I just don't know any better. Educate me. The most concrete thing is everybody in Jackson would be all right if we would just take care of ourselves. If I did me, you did you, no matter what we do. We're not judging nobody. If they slanging, if they building, if they rapping, whatever they may end up doing, if we all just took care of each other, or we just took care of the person right next to us, we could change the whole city.
That's why. What you think about that?
I think that's a pretty on-point message. You know, there are a lot of things that are missing for our youths. Somewhere to play, somewhere to go and learn something after school. You know, when I moved down here, the first thing I looked for was the PAL. And I asked, you know,
maybe one.
Where was the PAL? And they were looking at me like I had, you know, antennas coming out of all areas of the body. Mm. And one person even asked me what it was. Yeah. So, you know, I moved
kind of dating yourself there, that's why.
That's all right. I'll date myself. You know, it's something to do. It's someplace. It's something to do. It's something to learn. There are role models. There are things. You know, I mean, everything you want your child to be into after school, maybe, so that it's not the streets, so that they're not influenced by any negative activity like selling drugs or whatever it is that may be out there that somebody may convince your kid is attractive. I could not find. So I think it's a very good message. They've been taken from our kids, and they need to be put back. they need to be put back. I agree with the message.
What you got, Jay?
David Banner shares a lot of good points in there. The things I took from it that we need to confront, I take or would add to it is twofold. One is a rule of law, and second is economics.
Right.
One of the first things that I'm guilty of when I started out on my own as an adult was I wanted to move out the hood.
Right.
You know. And the reason I wanted to move out the hood was two things. I wanted to show my kids that this ain't how life is supposed to be. And second, I just ain't want to be around all that riffraff.
Right.
You know, I know plenty of cats that are coming home now from doing all that stuff in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, that are coming home now and they go, I mean, they don't go right back to the same thing, but the neighborhood has not changed in that 25 years. You know, so
it's going to lead them right back to it.
Right. So one of the things that we have that I'm juxtaposed against is this rule of law and how the cops are so the law enforcement is so quick to lock up every person of color, and still we contribute to our own demise in our own neighborhoods by victimizing our own people. Like Mark say all the time, you know, crime happens usually where you live.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't happen. You rarely see a crime against another race or another culture by somebody going on the other side of town. That's rarely you're gonna commit crime exactly where you live, and usually where you live is people that look like you, and that's who you committing the crimes against. So, you know, we can't fix our own communities until we get to that rule of law where we can enforce and get that crime element out of our communities. So that's my first point, which is almost sort of like pick yourself up by your bootstraps, you know, a right-winger type of point of view. The second thing is economics. Now, when we able to first make our neighborhoods secure, our home values go up. Businesses will want to come back into the neighborhood, whether we start them ourselves or whether it's a big box store like a Walmart. You know, where we have these food deserts here, right here where Legacy Internet or close by, there's no grocery stores. And there's like, one or two, you know, what we call corner stores or bodegas. Bodega. You know, and they not run by us as black folk. You know, so I mean, like, to me, it's sad that we can't, and I'm guilty of it, because once I got out the hood and started living out in the suburbs and exurbs, I was like, you know, when I come back to the hood, I'm like, yo, ain't nothing changed. But maybe I'm contributing to the problem. Maybe the gentrification of my neighborhood where my mother lives now is so weird because it's pretty much VCU. It's you know, I grew up in Borough Park.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's all VCU now. So it's not like we can't come in with capital and rebuy up all this real estate and sell it to our own or rent it out to our own. VCU got it now. So we got to go pay an arm and a leg now just to get, you know, a housing over there. So again, back to my 2 points, is we got to get back our communities as far as, you know, getting the rule of law, making it safe for families to raise their families in. And second, we need to come back and help build those communities. But we can't have one without the other. You know, and I think that's what I took from David Banner saying, well, you know, these kids are out here thugging and bugging, but we don't give them something else to do. They done took away all these programs. I'm sitting here telling David Banner, if he's listening to Legacy Internet Radio, ain't no half stepping right now. That is not going to, what they're cutting is not coming back. It's not coming back, because the reason why they cut school funding, the reason why they cut after school programs or police athletics, those are the easiest things to go. And unless we have people, our leaders or people that we vote, that's going to vote our interest, people don't want to be taxed to do that. And that's all you have to do when you go out to these, what they call swing districts. You know, you go out to the suburbs or whatever, and they call Henrico a swing district, or Prince William or Northern Virginia. These are swing district white, I won't say hippies, but what do you call those when the kids, baby boomers, that are getting ready to retire, or their kids are empty nesters and they're done. They don't want Uncle Sam taxing them to give money or to put money back into communities that for 50 and 60 years now, and even longer, the government's been doing, and they're not seeing any results. So we need to stop looking for the government to hand us out tax incentives and plans and programs to put up the boys club that I went to. That was a private thing run by the United Way.
Yeah.
You know, those are charitable things, but I'm talking about government programs. We got the midnight basketball not coming back. These white people ain't fitting that for they not fitting to have that no more. They want their country back because Barack been there for 8 years. They not here. They don't want no more money coming to these inner city communities. Look at the example we got in Richmond today. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So those are the 2 points I took away from it. And then from what David Banner said, that's not going to happen, bro. We're going to have to start creating our own tax base.
Yeah, what you got, Marcus?
Let me get a couple of comments, and first I'm going a little bit backwards from Hakeem. Hakeem is speaking to the last thing that we were talking about in the last segment about the walkout and how the conversation kind of took a life of its own. He mentions the state highly subsidizes Newark, New Jersey's $1 billion a year school budget. That's why cats from other towns complain, because they pay for garbage returns. And so that's some real stuff. And then he sent me a photograph of a bunch of children, school children, who have a billboard, a banner that says the only thing that should be separated by color is laundry, which, you know, that's real dope. That's real dope as well. You know, we had a whole lot that we talked about, you know, and to be completely frank, you know, I've listened to David Banner in that clip and others, and then listening to you guys, you know, kind of, you know, analyze what David Banner's said, and kind of really the only thing that I'm going to really say to address that is what I've always said, is that we just need to do better. You know what I'm saying? It's like we sit around and we wait for everybody else to fix our problems when, you know, the people that we produce in the hood should have some sort of responsibility to the hood that produced them. And let me tell you what I mean by that. You know, and you know, I don't want to call anybody out by name because I don't want to make it seem like I'm calling.
If I think you know who you,
I'm not going to call anybody out by name. But what I will say is this: if you and I'm going to say some places y'all gonna know what I'm talking about. Don't call them out by name because there's a reason, there's a method to my madness here. You know, but if you're a Hall of Famer from Hampton, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? If you are a legendary basketball player from Jersey City, New Jersey, you know what I'm saying? If you grew up in Lower Meridian, Pennsylvania, you know, if you're from Wilmington, North Carolina, you know, if you are someone who grew up in these areas, some of which are low level of economics, and you grew up hard, you know, maybe you didn't grow up hard in Lower Meridian, but that was just the name that came in my head. But y'all understand the point that I'm making. You know, if you grew up in some of these, you know, impoverished areas and you turned out to be something and the hood supported you, the hood's buying your shoe. You know, the hood is buying your jersey and the hood is making you the star that you are. You know, and not just playing sports. I mean, if you grew up in the Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying, or if you grew up, you understand what I'm saying. So I think, and this just is me, you know, I guess I'm kind of like Bernie Sanders and Jesus in that I'm a socialist. That I think that there needs to be some responsibility that is laid upon the feet of the people that the hood produced. And if you're not about that life, then, you know, to me, there's a level of respect that I want to have for you that I don't. And so I don't know if that directly, I don't know if that directly is kind of a response to what David Banner was saying in that clip. But, you know, I know in Jersey City alone, and I can only speak for the hood that I came from. I can speak for the high school that I went to. And, you know, St. Anthony High School in Jersey City produced some pretty prominent people in basketball.
Got a nice alumni squad.
You got a nice little alumni squad of people who could do some things. And maybe they are. And maybe they are. I can go play, you know, basketball on that basketball court at Audubon Park as well as the one that's on Garfield. But it's a basketball court. Okay, I can go play basketball. You know, are there any programs that were set up for the children? Are there any housing that is set up for the lower income people? Are there any stores or any businesses that are set up for the sole purpose of, getting the hood straight? Because I'll be honest with you, if I had my way, we would send all the Koreans back to Korea crying because we then came back and took over the hair weave and the hair nail and the nails,
True.
Businesses and all of that kind of stuff. So that's my rambling way of addressing Mr. 3375.
Send all the Koreans back to Korea.
I know that sounded cold-blooded, and I don't.
No. I'm going somewhere with you with it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded crazy it sounded crazy the way I said it. But the point, the ultimate point that I'm trying to make is our community has $1 that we spend in everybody's community except for ours. And I had this conversation with someone, and I hope that person is listening and comments on what we're saying, because we had a similar conversation in social media recently that everybody's making money off of us. If you go, the fact that we even say bodega, like we know what a bodega is. That's the Spanish folks that's got a store in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to get a hair weave, we go to the Chinese lady. If we get our nails done, or the Koreans. You know what I'm saying?
We did have a Charlie Boys.
All of the 7-Elevens is owned by the Middle Eastern people. Like, what is that business that we know that when we go to the hood, we're going to consistently get this in the hood? Like, really, what is that?
I mean, you make a very, very good point. The only thing I will add to that is, as a people, as a culture, we how you say we, like David Banner is exactly who you described.
Let me stop you for a second, because I need to give a special shout out.
Okay.
Special shout out. Hold that thought. My pop is listening tonight.
Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, Pops J is listening tonight.
We don't usually get that often.
Pops J is listening tonight. He just sent me a note to let me know he's here. Love you, man. Shout out to my brother and my pop.
That's what's up. That's
my brother and my pop. Go ahead, Chris.
What I was saying was just you were pretty much agreeing with David Banner. I mean, honestly, that's how he made his money. He was a artist, a rap artist, and then he decided that not only was he going to be a celebrity, but he started going. He giving back to the hood, whether it's going there mentoring young people or speaking. I think he does a lot of public speaking and is on TV advocating for his people. So I mean, you want to be aspirational in the same. See, I think this is where I go with the Jordans and the Kobes, and I agree with you. They don't do anything for the hood once they got out there. And what's so sad is that so many of our kids aspire to be them. So in that respect, I don't want to take away from, if you got athletic ability, please pursue it to your fullest extent. God be with you. That's your way of getting you and your family out the hood. Like Marcus said, just don't forget where you came from. Yep. I saw this thing on Nori's podcast. I don't know if y'all know Nori, the rapper. Yeah. And I don't know if y'all heard it, but Nori was doing a podcast, and he was telling a story about Jordan was at this Def Jam party, and was Redman and Method Man was there, and was first time they saw Jordan, they was a little starstruck, and it was like, yo, man, I want to meet Jordan. So they got word through Jordan's people. Jordan said, man, I don't F with no rappers. I don't like rap. I don't like hip-hop. And that's not the first time we've heard that.
Yeah, it was another rapper.
Chamillionaire. He did he disliked that. So, I mean, that's the kind of wealth or the kind of richness that it doesn't matter what your skin color is. You know those cats, when you hear something like that, they think they better than you, and that you're beneath them. So why are we out here the first day? My kids are guilty of it. Them J's are online. Daddy, can we go get them? I say, not from me. You gonna get them from somebody else.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. That's the thing. First of all, shout out to our sister Michelle K is listening. I meant to get your shout out earlier, and that's my bad. I saw when you hit me up a little while ago, and I should have got you in. My apologies, my sister. But you've heard me. I've been taken to task by people, close and people who are not so close, with regards to my position on Jordans. I remember in the spring and summer of 1990, when I had my first job, I worked for Rickle Home Center in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is, for those folks, it's defunct now, but it's kind of like Lowe's or Home Depot.
Okay.
It's a store like that. And, that's where I worked. And all I wanted was a pair of the 1990 Air Jordans.
They're probably the ones or the twos.
It was the threes, actually. It was the threes.
Right.
And that's all I wanted. I literally worked my ass off all spring so I get those Jordans. And I got them, and I was happy with them. And I'll be honest with you, to this day, they were probably the most comfortable pairs of sneakers I think I've ever had in my life.
Shout out to China.
I will shout out to the 8-year-olds in China, who made 16 cents a day to make a $5 shoe that I spent $125 to buy. And that's the night.
But to be fair, that was in 1990.
But that's the 16-year-old Marcus J. Now obviously we're talking about 26 years later. I'm in a different headspace, but the children and the kids and the young folks and even some older folks who are buying them J's, they not in a different headspace. And we know far more now about Michael Jordan and people like him than we did back then, and we don't care. We don't care. And I show you. Well, I guess the masses don't care because Michael Jordan already came out and said that he don't take a stand because Republicans and Democrats buy Air Jordans. I give you another example of how people don't care. I've got a young family member who he's in his early 20s right now, and I remember asking him because he was sagging. I was like, "Why are you sagging your pants?" He's like, "This is what we do." And I said, "Do you know why?" That's the thing. Like, do you know why people do it? Do you know where that came from? He was like, yeah, now because I know him and I know his mother, I know that he knows. And I asked him, and he told me, yeah, it's from prison and jail and stuff. Okay. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Are you emulating somebody that's in jail? He said, man, I'm his cousin, but he called me uncle. It's like, yo, Unc, this is just the way we do, man. And he knew, and he didn't care. He knew, and he didn't care.
I know that. I know the frustration.
That's just a frustrating thing. It's like you beat your head on the wall because we can sit here, we can quote David Banner, and we can quote, Malcolm and Martin. I play clips from them all the time, and Dr. Claude Anderson and Dr. Umar Johnson and Warren Ballantyne and Marcus J. And all of us can get on our soapboxes and speak. But unless you are ready to receive and actually act
on it.
You know what I'm saying? Because those of us who may not have the financial capabilities, who we may have the vision, it's difficult. It's frustrating, especially when we see folks who can make easy decisions to write off small amounts of money to them, but huge amounts of money to the hood, and they simply don't do it.
It's just capitalism at its best.
But it's just frustrating because, see, then the other side of that is, and this is something that I fight with our brother K-Dub about. I hope he's listening because I want you to call in 804-402-2893. His response, which is a fair response, Jay, stay out of other folks' pockets.
Yeah.
Stay out of other folks' pockets. And that's a fair response.
I say that. I said that earlier, meaning people don't want. And it was on a tax question in regards to how do you distribute. The political debate nowadays is the distribution or the redistribution of wealth. And that didn't come into play. Nobody really heard about that much until the 2007, 2008 election cycle when Barack Obama and John McCain was running. But here's the thing with that: when you hear like code words in your media, we are a media, outlet here, Legacy Internet Radio. But when you hear code words like the redistribution of wealth, what it's saying is, keep your hand out of my pocket. We're not giving money to people of color. We don't want to help. We didn't already help.
Yeah.
There's going to be, trust me, believe me, no matter who wins in 2016, there is going to be a backlash for Barack Obama's election in 2008 and 2012. And that pendulum is going to swing just as far as it swung when Joseph Lowery was inducting them at the inauguration, and I shed a tear.
Yeah.
I said, wow, this is history making, right? I ain't go to work. I told them, kiss my ass. I said, I got to see this. But it just as much as I felt good that day come January 2017, if the election plays out, no matter whether it's Hillary Clinton or whoever the right nominates, it's going to be hard for people because they're not unless you go out and vote and voice your opinion and speak out and support the people that are speaking to the right things that you believe in. I'm not picking any candidate here on Legacy Internet Radio. All I'm saying is do the knowledge for yourself and pay attention to what's really going on. Mr. 3375.
All right. We're going to move on to the next clip. This one is when Will was in jail.
Who that?
Will on Fresh Prince.
Oh, okay.
He was in jail, and he had a confrontation. Go back up, Marcus. He had a confrontation right there. He had a confrontation with a white guy, a racial issue.
All right, that's not the one that you.
No,
on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah. Hold on.
No. Different world. I'm sorry.
Oh, different world. Okay.
Yeah, different world.
I thought the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a pretty, even 8 o'clock show.
Oh,
okay. So
but they tackled. Yeah, they tackled. Oh, Superman was in there.
This the one you want right here?
Yeah, that's the one.
Right.
Okay. All right. Hold tight. I'm gonna shut the mics down. We're gonna play this clip. It's about a minute long. Here we go.
They have no respect. They don't care about this country at all. All they do is sit on their butt and complain.
And what do they have to complain about? It's because of them and their quotas that I'm not in the Ivy League, where I belong.
Y'all had quotas for centuries. You called them legacies, restricted country clubs, the law. Oh, hey, my grandfather came to this country with nothing. He couldn't even speak the language. But he worked hard, and he made a place for himself and his family. Now, why can't you people do the same? Hey, my grandfather built this country, man. He fought wars for it. And most places he went wouldn't let him sit down and get a cup of coffee. I can't even catch a cab in New York. It doesn't matter how many degrees I get. All you people see is color. Your grandfather was an immigrant. You're American. My grandfather was born here, Duke. And you people still look at me as just another nigga.
Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. A lot of us remember that scene when it happened on A Different World. For those folks who for those folks who may not know, that was actually Dean Cain. Dean Cain, who later played Superman in the Adventures of Lois and Clark. That's who that was. But Mr. 3375, you wanna pick up here?
Go ahead, Jay.
He's right. And I think that the acting in that, the storyline in that is indicative of racial, how can I say this? When white people expect things to be the way they are because they're white, they don't think about, who actually helped build this country. I mean, Black history, let alone in America, has been either whitewashed or pushed under the rug, but if you just do not, and when I say facts these days are, subject to ridicule because we got Donald Trump up there making and everybody else making their own facts. But facts are facts. You just can't change what has happened. All of the wealth that this country made in the Industrial Revolution was due to slavery. Anytime you can, just like you can make Jordans for 5 cents and sell them to the West for $120. Somebody is making that profit margin. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Nike, Phil Knight, or Michael Jordan, somebody is making that, and that's how you build wealth. So when you are out here picking cotton to put money in the big plantation known as Fat Sack, and then after slavery ends, that plantation owner sharecrops the land to you that you was a slave and now paying you menial wages, he's still reaping the benefits of your hard-earned labor. But white people will say, oh, that's all you people want to talk about. Well, I mean, if you were in that situation, you would want somebody to recognize what you've done as well. And there's a legacy. In order to, let me put it this way for the listeners. You don't get to point B without having a point A to start at. For everybody that's listening. You don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So for the situations and all the things we talked about here tonight, there is a reason why people of color, especially black people in America, are in the position that we're in. We're behind the 8 ball, and it's not making up excuses. These are facts. We've been behind the 8 ball ever since we landed on the continent.
That's right. Yeah.
And until white people try to make it up by putting Barack in office or, try to make it up by saying, well, that didn't, what that got to do with me? I wasn't, enslaving. But trust me, I know. I've done the knowledge. I found who was enslaving my people.
But it's crazy, just to kind of pick up where you're going with that. I find myself no longer wanting to get into the discussion about, white people versus black people and racial slavery and all that kind of stuff. Simply because it's going to get you nowhere.
Right.
It's not going to get you anywhere. You're going to get a bunch of black people that's going to sympathize with your opinion, and you're going to get a bunch of white people. And that's not to say all. That's just to say a bunch of who's going to call bullshit on what you're saying. But the reality is, and like you said, Grizzy, you can have different opinions, but you can have different facts. And the simple fact of the matter is, if we're going to just talk, we don't even have to go back to slavery. We can just go back to the last, say,
40 years?
Last 30 years. And we can go back to, say, in the mid-'80s.
Reaganomics.
We can go back to the mid-'80s and we can talk about what happened with Reaganomics. We can talk about what happened with drugs, and Len Bias dying, I think, was one of the big things that ended up happening. And what ended up happening after that, the Black Caucus, they were the ones who wanted to get the drug laws changed.
Mandatory
minimums and all that kind of stuff, because crack was so bad. And so what ended up happening was, you can have a very small amount of crack on you, and you can have a very large amount of cocaine, and they were considered equivalents. Well, that small amount of crack was very common, whereas a large amount of cocaine was not very common. The point is, crack was something that was found in the inner cities. Doesn't mean it's all black folk. It just means the inner cities. Because it was easy to get and it was cheaper. So what ended up happening, that small amount of crack is going to net you a whole lot of jail. And the crazy part about it is, a lot of those people is still in jail right now.
But they're having that conversation now about...
they are having it now, but it's 30 years later. And not only is it 30 years later, you got a lot of people that's giving the president a hard time for wanting to... let a lot of these people out of jail. You talking about non-violent felons that are filling up the jails.
They're coming home.
But again, we're not talking about opinions. We're talking about facts. Again, when you have the prevailing thought that black folks are more inclined to be drug dealers and drug users and things of that sort, and welfare users and all that kind of stuff, it's simply not factually accurate.
Say it again.
It's not factually accurate when there's a county in Kentucky that has 99% of the people in that county are white, and a whole bunch of them are on welfare. It is the highest concentration of welfare recipients in any locality in the entire country. You know what I'm saying? And so when you hear phrases like welfare queen, which was coined in the 80s by President Ronald Reagan, if you really want to talk about the real welfare queens, then you're talking about young white girls, because you ain't talking about the sisters. And if you want to talk about black on black crime, like I talked about many, many times on this show, crime is something that happens where you are. And I also would like to think that people are paying attention to statistics. And I heard a number earlier. I haven't had an opportunity to research it, but I heard a number that said that white suicide and black on black crime are very similar numbers.
Wow.
I haven't looked it up, but for those folks who are listening, I encourage you to do so, because I'm going to, and I'd like to see what would happen if we did that, what those numbers would look like. Ain't No How Steppin' with Marcus J. live from the Den Legacy Internet Radio. Mr. 3375, go ahead and take us to the next one.
I was going to run something different, but he had said something when you were speaking, so I want to run this clip. Okay. This is from the Jeffersons, when
love that show.
Another black person mistake him because he was living in the building as a maid. As a butler.
George got him straight, I bet.
Do both y'all live here?
Someplace, ain't it?
Yeah. I didn't know the Jeffersons had a couple.
A couple of what?
A maid and a butler, you two.
Butler, what?
Yeah, they must be real rich.
Hold it, Diane. We are the Jeffersons.
You're right, Louis. He's a great joker.
He's not joking, Diane.
Oh, you got to be kidding. How can you afford to live in a place like this? You ain't tall enough to be no basketball player.
Say what?
And you too old for a rock and roll singer.
Look, this is our apartment.
Then you got to be a number runner. I'm getting out of here.
No, hold on. I don't run nothing except my own business.
That's true, Diane. He owns some cleaning stores.
Including the one downstairs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Diane, wait. Wait, Diane, what's the matter?
Well, I thought you was a maid like me.
You a maid?
Yes, what difference does that make?
Plenty. Why ain't you out maiding someplace?
Don't mind him, Diane.
No, it does make a difference. Mr. Jefferson is right.
Mr. Jefferson? It's George, Diane.
She was right the first time, Mr. Jefferson.
I better be going. Thanks for the coffee.
Wait, promise you'll drop in tomorrow and have another cup of coffee with me? I want us to be good friends.
Well, I will if I can. Bye, Mr. Jefferson.
Bye. You hear that, Louise? She called me Mr. Jefferson.
Mrs. Louise. Two can play at that superior jazz.
Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Before we comment on that, I want to get a comment in from my brother Hakeem. We're definitely going to address what we just heard, but Hakeem says, not saying that he disagrees, but he's not sure everyone is born someplace. Does that mean that sorry about that, does that mean that everyone owes something to the place they came from? I actually think that they do, personally. Yeah. That's just my personal opinion. It's capitalism, exploitation. Capitalism is a system of exploitation. His oldest daughter is with him right now and agreeing with me on why does everyone own a piece of the hood but black people. So appreciate Hakeem, and thank you for having the young sister with us and listening to the show here with us here on Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. But I feel strongly about that. I think that if you come from someplace, then you owe to make sure that where you came from is okay. Now, I cannot speak to other cultures, so I'm not going to say if you white and you come from the Heights, you need to get back to the Heights, because I'm not white. I don't have the same experience that white people have. But if we are going to be people that say things like it takes a village, then we gotta practice what we preach when it comes to that kind of stuff. And if the hood produced you, and I feel very strongly about this, I'm never going to relent from this, and I've had detractors who disagree with me, and that's fine. I respect everybody's opinion. But if the hood produced you and the hood supports you, and did you go about your merry way and act like you never even came from the hood, I got a problem with you. I just do. And I'm always going to have a problem with you if, okay, Wilmington ain't the hood, but Michael Jordan knows how the hood supports him. He know. Okay, he ain't from the hood. Wilmington ain't the hood, but he know.
He see that stock report.
He see that stock report. He know. And so, for you to turn a blind eye to these kids killing each other in the street over your shoe, you the worst kind of scum on the bottom of my shoe to me. And that's just how
he can have a lot of impact.
And he could. Michael Jordan opened up his mouth. I mean, he's 53 years old. Playing days are long over. There's nothing that he can say that would stop the sale of Jordans. All he got to do is say, stop killing yourself over my shoe. That's it. And he won't do it. And instead, he'll say, I ain't going to say nothing because Republicans and Democrats both buy Jordans.
Ha ha ha.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't rock with a cat that's like that.
To speak on it a little bit further, just to put it into white people terms, because I got white people in my family, so I know.
We all do, bro.
Yeah, we all do. But we see how certain things operate. You want to know why there's a big brouhaha about inheritance tax? When I die, I don't want, my kids to be taxed for the wealth that I might pass on to them. You know why that always is a big sticking point with Republicans and the rich class and political parties? It's because that's what most people that have wealth do. That's how you reach back and grab your, let's say even if your little tyke had a problem in board school and he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, George Bush, and he needs a little help, or how Donald Trump can get, what was it, a $3 million loan?
$1 million.
$1 million. It was just a little. You know what I'm saying? So this is how you have to give back, because they give back, and they give back in bigger and smarter and find ways to give back. You know what I'm saying? So when Big Mama go in the country, she leave that house to somebody, Now the next generation might rip the house to shreds, so the property ain't worth much at that point. But my point is, yes, we do have to give back. We want to leave this world better for our kids, for our kids, and for our children's generation, better than when we left, the way we left it, or better than we had it off. So of course we give back. To the George Jefferson thing, the one thing I take away from that is that even though Norman Lear who was the writer of Good Times and all the black shows that came on in the 70s, he did give an opportunity to show a black kid like me that black people could own and be entrepreneurs. But it's sad that he had to write in the sister. Yeah, that he had the writers. I mean, of course, that show was around for the longest.
It's like to make you stereotype yourself. I was not thrilled watching that. I mean, I've seen the episode, and I know I'm not thrilled because there are even instances now when if we have something, it's like, what? How you get that? What you do? You must do this. You must do that. Why the hell can't you just work for it? And I was insulted that she would say, oh, it can't be you. And then when she really realized that, she was like, oh, well, I got to go. Like, now I'm in the wrong company. It just kind of, it just ticks me off a little bit.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's the truth. Even in 1975.
We got to stop that. We got to stop that. If you doing something, hot damn.
I'm congratulating everybody.
Good.
I don't even care how you got it. Especially if you're a person of color, you out here getting it.
Add something to it instead of giving me your negativity. If that's what you got to give me, then you might as well just walk on, because I'm not really trying to be with that. If you want to give me something and you give me something good, don't give me that negative crap.
Right. It's been the stereotype for so long that we only make our millions if we only can rap, sing, or play sports, sell drugs and stuff like that. And that's the references that she made in this clip. Mm-hmm. Like we got a lot of black people that own businesses. Short to be a ball player. You know what I'm saying? Does million things. Tyler Perry got his own company. Oprah doing her thing, and and for her to just be like, no, I can't be in your presence. And George ain't making no better by belittling her, like, call me Mr. Jones.
In somewhere. He did the same thing she did.
Yeah,
and I just don't, I know
but that's what we do to each other in 2017.
I know they're going to just keep doing that. I'm going to die and that shit's still going to be happening, but it is so goddamn annoying.
I usually don't deal with anybody
when you got to act like that.
Well, I don't keep people like that in my circle. Right. And trust me, when I was in the stand up in the entertainment field, I saw a lot of, and I'm talking about people of color, and I was one that used to do a whole bunch of shucking and jive, and I just couldn't do it no more.
Pat me on my back and tell me what can I do to help you out.
I was just like, it's just not for me no more. It's more stuff I give out to the world. That right? Well, Marcus G.
Nah, when I see that clip, it speaks to me, because I was that kid that got, if Pop is still listening, I don't know if you are. Hopefully you still are. And I think I may have shared this with you. Oh shit, he has heard me cuss before too. But I was that kid that got picked on for being smart. I was that kid that got picked on for wearing glasses. I wasn't big, so I got picked on for that. But the thing that I got picked on more than anything else? What? Because I had him. I got picked on because I had my father. And so,
because it was like you were the odd family.
I was the odd one, you know. And so, it's one of those things where we are culturally conditioned to think that where we come from is negative. And so when we see positives about us, we scoff and we find it odd, out of the norm, you know. And that is something that has to change. And we have to teach our children better. When you turn on the television, you can't assume that what you're seeing is the real. When you know, I remember when I was a child, you know, we would turn on the TV on Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock, and what we watch? Tarzan. Every week, watch Tarzan. To this day, ain't no black Tarzan. to this day, you know, I might take some heat, but I enjoy watching the Tarzan movie from time to time just because this is what I grew up with. But I'm intelligent and intellectual enough to know that what you saw was bullshit. Right. Like, you're not gonna get no white dude that's gonna come to the jungle and tame the animals, fight lions and alligators and crocodiles and be the man. One, and two, even if he did, that's such a small snapshot of what Africa actually looks like. And so, how do you take a people and make those people feel small about themselves? You take those people's origins and you make their origins small. That's the reason why you see Tarzan. That's the reason why you see the jungles. That's the reason why you see all of these negative images in Africa. They don't want to show you golds and black diamonds and all that kind of stuff. When you have something great like Egypt, they will separate it from Africa. What is the Middle East?
It's a whole separate country.
The Middle East ain't nothing but North Africa.
Yeah.
And if you look at what history tells you, you will find that the Egyptians were the ones who taught the Greeks.
True.
You know, so
fact.
Everything comes from Africa. Everything comes from Africa. People come from Africa. Culture comes from Africa. Hieroglyphics and mathematics comes from Africa. Science comes from Africa. One of the smartest people who ever lived on this planet was a black man by the name of Benjamin Banneker, who taught George Washington and the homies about science. He laid out Washington, D.C.
The map.
He's the one that laid it out. And if you go to England, they got a big freaking clock. You want to know what that clock is called? It's called Big Ben. You want to know why it's called Big Ben? Because Benjamin Banneker was the founder of the freaking clock.
Preach. Now, that's the amen I can get.
You know what I'm saying? And so this is the stuff that we come from. And so unless you get someone like Marcus J and Jay Grizzy, Mr. 3375 and SY, who will teach it to you, you won't know. They want to take the N-word out the freaking history book because they want to whitewash everything that was done in this country prior to them taking that word out. So 100 years from now, when you look at a history book, you're going to think about all the cool and nice and sweet things that happened instead of the bullshit.
Right.
And so, yeah, I didn't step on the soapbox.
Let me just one thing before we move on or wrap up here tonight. Let me tell you one of the things I did. Well, happened to me when I was a kid. I was about 8 or 9 years old. Hey, let me tell you, you can be mad. You can be mad on this story. I was about 8 or 9 years old, living in the hood, and what we would call a Yankee, a Yankee family moved across the street. There was 3 girls, all girls. They were all cute, fine. I was 8. I had a crush on all 3 of them. I wish I could have smashed all 3 of them.
Oh, Jesus.
Point is, we go outside to play. You know, when the first time a new kid get in the neighborhood, you go outside and play. And of course, I'm not refined. I ain't been nowhere outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'll walk over there. Hey, y'all, how y'all girls doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then they started talking. And I said, why y'all talk so proper? Like they were talking proper English. And I would talk to my sisters and be like, yo, why they talk so funny?
Right.
You know, they don't talk nothing like us. They don't chew with the straw in their mouth or nothing like that. They talking like uppity white people. They was from Philly. They was from Philly, as a matter of fact. And looking back at that when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, that's just how almost brainwashed you were. Another thing, I don't know, when did you come out of school?
94.
So I came out in 90, so I don't know if you might remember this, but it was a curriculum, Marcus J. in Central Virginia, and Jim, you had to go to square dance. We had square dance. We had square,
Well, they taught that in gym at Verona. Yeah.
We had square dancing.
Yeah.
That you had to actually dress out.
Yeah.
And you had to get a partner, and you had to promenade and all that.
Yeah.
Even to the point where they did like a what do you call those things where you where you go to the auditorium during the school assembly. Have an assembly, and you put 8 little pickaninny black kids up there, and y'all up there doing to some old hillbilly music. I lie to you not. So, and I'm serious. This is real life that was happening in the Reagan 80s.
Yeah.
My point is that you can your future children, your seeds, they could all get indoctrinated. That's I'll talk about that later. But they all get indoctrinated in these different ways, whether it's through the TV, whether it's through the radio, whether it's through schooling. You have to kind of be careful these days, because there's a lot of different things that can affect your child, especially people of color coming up, that you have to, unless you read a book, yourself, you have to and get knowledge of. So I just wanted to share those 2 crazy stories about Yankee people speaking real funny, and we had the square dance when we was kids.
Just to say something, like when we was kids, about the ignorance of us when we was kids. How many of us wanted the General Lee? The Dukes of Hazzard General Lee with the Confederate flag on the car. Because none of us knew what the Confederate flag was.
My brother had the toy set.
Exactly. And that's all racism towards black people. But we didn't know that. We was Dukes and Hazzard fans. Like
Uncle Jesse, Cletus, all of them.
It's crazy, man.
It's amazing what TV can do.
You talk about the General Lee and the Dukes of Hazzard, and your man Marcus J is currently, right now, as we speak, showing the panel a picture.
Oh, he's in the General Lee.
He's in the General Lee.
Hold on, Mark. Oh, my God, son.
How old do I look?
Oh, you was all of maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah.
In the General Lee.
In the General Lee.
But, I mean, honestly, they got us like that.
They got us.
It speaks to your point, because anybody that watches the Dukes of Hazzard, I don't make this about that show, but I'm going to just address what you said. Last year when the show got boycotted and taken off the air, I thought that was bullshit. I didn't think they should have taken the show off the air, because you can be a fist in your air type of dude all you want. But if you watch the Dukes of Hazzard, then you know there was no racism in the heart of the Dukes.
Right.
There just wasn't, at least not that you saw on the show.
Right.
They supported the flag. It is what it is. But to speak to what you were saying, there are some folks who feel completely different from the Duke family and that damn flag.
Right.
And us Northerners, we ain't know no better. Now, I can't speak to you folks who grew up here.
We knew what it was about and still rock with it.
Was be able to jump in and out the car like Dave.
So what was y'all thinking in Pennsylvania?
What were y'all
Where you were from in Pennsylvania?
See, when you say Pennsylvania, it's Pennsylvania, and it's Norristown, Pennsylvania. Get it right.
My granddad.
How you gonna tell me to quit sounding country and then say it in a country way?
If you want to say it, it's Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Ever what? Like seriously, whatever. It's like I'll tell you a funny story before we close out the segment. Moms J and Pops J, when they come down here to Virginia and kick it with the fam here, it's a trip because, man, I've been here. It'll be 24 years this year that I've been in Richmond.
Oh, I know you got that twang.
Yeah. When I go home, they know I've been down south, and down here, they know I'm from up north. Go figure. But it was only like a few years ago that Moms noticed that the Confederate flag waves here pretty freely.
Yeah.
And so she was like, yo.
She was like, yo.
She was like, what's up with the flag?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I mean, because I'm here and I'm used to it. She was like, ain't nobody gonna say nothing. She was like, you ain't gonna take that down? I was like,
there was a complex that I wanted to move into. And I went to go and take a look at the place, and there were like 2 trucks, and they had their flags waving big time. I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not moving here. and you turned and came on out. When I got here, I was like, what is going on?
Let me tell you could go down the boulevard every day and see them posted by the museum with the flag.
Oh yeah, you see them every day. They be right out there.
Right out there, posted.
Every day. Every day I see them.
Yeah, all that, man.
Drag and all that.
I don't even, you know.
But you just got to remember Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy. That flag, man.
Yeah, and the Confederate White House is right there in downtown, right around the corner from VCU. The Confederate White House is right there. Only thing that I'll say to that is this. You know, there are folks who will give you the whole, you know, you don't know your history. You got to know your history. You just don't know your history. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I know the history. And just because I view it differently from you doesn't mean that I got it wrong. And when I see that flag, if you waving it, I'm immediately feeling some kind of way about you. Straight up.
And they want you to know that.
And if you want to feel some kind of way about me wearing a Malcolm X t-shirt or wearing red, black, and green, then so be it. But guess what I'm always going to do? I'm going to respect you, even waving that flag, until you disrespect me on an individual level. If you disrespect me, then we can have a discussion. But you can wave your flag. You do what you want to do, because I'm very consistent about everybody has a right to be and do whatever is in their heart and in their spirit. And so if you want to be an asshole, it's your right to be an asshole. If you want to be a racist, it's your right to be a racist. You know what I'm saying? I work in a position in my job, in my full time, where I deal with people. I have to go into, let's just say, I got to go to Verona and I got to go to Churchill. You know, for my Richmond, for my Jersey City people, I got to go to Curry's Woods that don't exist no more, and I got to go to the Heights. You know what I'm saying? And so I deal with all kinds of people, and I'm gonna respect you, whether you want to be respected or not, until you disrespect me. Once you disrespect me, and that's what I'll find. And I'm going to tell you something, and then I'm going to end this segment with this. I find I get more disrespect in the hood than I do in with white folk. And that's real.
And that's a shame.
And that's a shame, but that's real. I ain't know how to step on Marcus J live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. Going to take our final break of the night. When we come back, Mr. 3370.